Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Conan, Battle for the Serpent Crown, issue number 4 of 5. Yeah, I'm 3 minutes early, deal with it. Anyway, I love this cover. I absolutely love this cover. And that's where the love of this comic book ends. Uh, I didn't like this comic book. I simply did not like this comic book. That's just, yeah. I'm not here to make personal attacks against anybody. I really like the art in here for the most part. There are a couple parts where it's like, boring, plain, plaid. Let's talk about who made the comic book first. So we got Saladin Ahmed on writing, Luke Ross doing the art, Nolan Woodard on the colors, VC's Travis Lanham on the letters, and Mohammed Asrar and Marcio Menez doing the cover art. A couple of variant covers also. So it is what it is. Conan, Battle for the Serpent Crown, issue number 4 of 5. Um, yeah. So we basically you start off with this guy again. Can't remember his name. Who cares? Imus Champion is his name. I just remembered it. Don Imus and Champion of the Universe. Combine those two, you got Imus Champion. I think that's what his name is. Couldn't find it. Anyway, he's talking to Mephisto at the Hotel Inferno, and I guess everybody forgot that issue number 7 of Ghost Rider came out. This is 100% Marvel's fault. I don't care about COVID being out. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's Marvel's responsibility to keep a little bit of continuity. All right. Again, under Shooter, this wouldn't have happened. Under Jim Shooter, this would not have happened. Just is what it is. All right. Now, let's be realistic with something. We got 3 pages worth of exposition in here of just, well, I don't understand what happened. Well, let me tell you what happened. This is what happened. And then this happened. And then this happened. And let's talk. That's the reason why we need Conan to do stuff. Really? Exposition? That's what you're going to give us? Probably not the greatest idea. Especially after I just read probably the most boring prologue I've ever read in my entire life. This part right here, where he explains what happened in the previous issue. Because remember, I read and reviewed the first 2 issues. I missed issue 3 because, but I saw this on the front, and I'm like, I gotta read this. Nah, bro. Nah, can't do it. Can't do it. I actually legitimately fell asleep 4 times while reading it. Excuse me, 3 times. I had to read this thing 4 times because the first 3 times I fell asleep reading the prologue. It was that boring. It was so boring. Oh, freaking terrible. So now we're going to get into probably the to me the worst piece of art in here, because like the prologue stuff, there's beautiful art and everything, but then why is it that we're not able to draw a picture of Shuri without her just looking so organic in this suit? I think it's time to just change the suit. That's what I think. Because she just looks like she's so one-dimensional in this. Everybody else, you see shadow, you see all these different things on here, right? Look, even it looks multi-dimensional. Well, 3-dimensional, you know what I'm saying? But like Shuri in the suit, especially when she's facing forward, nobody seems capable of drawing it like as if it's more than just a flat panel on a flat panel. You're supposed to be able to make this 2-dimensional medium look as though it's somewhat 3-dimensional, as though people actually move and they're not just sliding along wherever they're going. More than that, there's only one image in here where Shuri is not smiling. It's that one. The other one, she's got this smile on her face. Why does that bother me? Let's talk about masculinity and also toxicity. Because a lot of people will argue that there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. Other people will argue that all masculinity is toxic. I'm here to set the record straight. That's right. And this does relate to the comic book. I've been in the martial arts since I was 8 years old. I'm kind of good at it. Literally, it's not braggadocio for a doctor who's been through med school, who's been through his freaking residency, saying, who's worked for 20 years or so in the industry. It's not braggadocio for him to say, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Trust me, it's okay. Just relax. I got this. That's not being a braggart. That's not. That's being confident in the skills that you have acquired. Likewise. And when you're good at something, especially at an early age, there's a level of confidence that comes with who and what you are. Because when your parents or your teachers, whoever used to tell you, the more you practice something, the better you'll be at it. And you could do anything that you put your mind to. It's real. It suddenly becomes solidified. For a lot of people, it's driving. It's like, I'll never be able to drive. It's too hard. But then you stop and you look around, you're like, everybody else is driving. What? I'm the only idiot who can't drive? And it's saying, and you realize, wait a second, I can do this. And then, like, all these little tiny things throughout our lives, they grant us this ability to be better than we thought that we could be. Because when we're young, we're filled with self doubt. We're filled with, or we're devoid of confidence, right? For a lot of us, that goes all the way through high school. I don't know what I'm going to do when I get out of school. Do something, get a job if you need to until you can figure it out. But the idea is, masculinity and toxic masculinity are separate things because confidence is where a lot of that comes in. Conan is confident in everything that he does because he has had a very hard life. I was privileged in the idea that I found someone, and technically this guy also found me. My first sensei, when I was 8 years old, taught me the martial arts, and it was a private class. It was just me and him, and we'd just go off someplace, and he would just teach me, and I would learn until I got the lesson down. The class, most of the time wouldn't end. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, like, you've peaked, relax, we'll try and finish up some more tomorrow. But I used to go pretty much every single day learning the martial art, and not only was I good at it, but I loved it. So it was just a perfect sync of harmony. For for most of us, we don't get that boost of confidence that we're actually good at something, that we can actually matter in the world when we're kids. So I was very privileged in that. Conan Conan is a guy who comes from absolutely zero privilege. Zero. There is none. He's this guy who had nothing handed to him. In fact, he had everything taken away from him. You know what I'm saying? His parents and everything. And he just went through life from the worst part of the world you could possibly imagine, Samaria. And he went on to, just like, this is that hard lifestyle. Nobody's ever going to give me anything. I got to take it, or I got to fight for it, or I got to work for it, whatever. Like, boom, this is me. And he's developed a strong mistrust of magic. Now, where does this mistrust of magic comes from? Robert E. Howard, who believed in masculinity, would talk all the time about, hey, listen, magic in the universe, when he was writing Kull, before he even came across Conan, Conan was actually made almost on a whim. It was actually made by an accident. One of his Kull stories didn't get picked up, so he rewrote it as Conan instead. So it didn't have to worry about contradicting a lot of what happened in these other stories. Instead, he could just focus on a different story. So that's where the Phoenix on the Sword, the first Conan story, actually came from. It was supposed to be a Kull story, but it was rejected. So he made Conan instead, to be after the first Cataclysm. Anyway, so Conan and Kull, they distrusted magic because magic was considered to be the easy way out. Think about that. Really let that marinate. If you're not a Conan fan, you know what I'm saying? Just let that, so therefore you wouldn't already know this by example. Robert E. Howard tried to teach that magic was kind of analogous to the easy way out, or a shortcut. You can't take shortcuts in life. You can't. So Conan distrusts magic. He distrusts the easy way out. Why is all of this relevant? Because right in the first pages, Shuri is smiling and she's laughing, and ha 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 ha. You're afraid to take this potion. And yeah, it's actually an elixir, whatever, okay? It's to Conan, it's a potion. It's magic to him. Because he doesn't, not just because he doesn't understand the way that it works, he doesn't understand that it's actually science. It's not something that he has done and put forth with his own two hands. Conan is not the kind of guy who's going to get a freaking iPad or an iPhone or something like that, because he didn't build it himself. You know what I'm saying? He knows how to forge a sword. So he will take somebody else's sword because he actually knows how, it's not like he's got to use only the swords that he forges. No, he knows how to forge. So he understands the way it works. He can trust it. He can rely upon it. That's the kind of trust, not trust it won't hurt me, but trust that I understand how it's used. How many of us, use it? Just the idea, like Conan is brought into this modern time period. Imagine if we were brought into a previous time period. A lot of us like to think we'll be the greatest, we'll be kings. The technology that we have today, your iPhone's not going to work. You take your phone, your Galaxy, whatever the hell it is, it's not going to work back then. There's no internet. Do you know how to create an internet? No, we don't. We don't. I actually have a good idea since I was part of an operation, part of the first team that actually tried to make wireless internet, but by myself, I can't do it. Saying part of a team, I can, but yeah, there's no internet. So what is your phone good for? Who are you going to call? There's nobody else out there. It's literally just this thing that's going to shine for a couple minutes at least. Because even the clock, it's not going to matter. It's going to be anachronistic. It's not going to mean anything. Look, this counts the seconds. Nothing. We've got this, egg timer, like this hourglass. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot that you think about, like, let's make it really super duper simple. Can anybody here tell me how to create a ballpoint pen? Because I can't. I'm sure I could. I'm sure I could learn how to do it. But right now, if I went back in time, I could recreate the clicky part of this. That's not the hardest thing in the world. Of course, I'd have to reverse engineer the technology to make the spring and everything like that. But like the idea is this here, I can recreate that. But the actual pen moving and whatnot, I'd be stuck with the fountain pen because I right now do not know how to recreate how this pen keeps the ink inside and we only use for a little while. I don't know how to recreate that. We would be the most useless people going back in time when all those people know how to make a fire by rubbing two sticks together. And most of us today don't. I can. I like that survivalist stuff, but most of us can't. We can't do that. So we would be the most useless creatures. We'd be killed like that. We're weak. We rely too much on technology to move this, that, and the other thing, So, let's look at the idea that Conan is tricked into taking this medicine. See, Conan's not stupid, and he's written as being very stupid in here. Conan is not stupid. Conan knows the difference between, even if he doesn't know how the gears and the levers work to raise a drawbridge or a gate on a castle wall or something like that, he can see them working and just figure, I can figure this out, whatever it is, what it is. But he'll know the difference between that version of science and somebody magically levitating a gate up. Okay? There's a huge difference there. And the one he can trust, not saying he knows that it'll always work all the time, but he trusts that he knows how it works. But the magic, he doesn't know how that works. There's no idea how that works, and he's not going to trust it. It represents the shortcut. Conan is not about shortcuts. Conan was written to be the epitome of masculinity. Okay? Now, where some people look at toxic masculinity and where Conan was actually made toxic in here, I'm going to first give you this example. So Conan, and I'm going to reply to comments over here only in regards to this comic book. The reason why I'm doing this comic book live, the only reason why I'm doing this comic book live is because I tried to do this 4 times and the video was too long and I rambled too much. And I figured in a live video, at least it makes more sense and I can interact with people and it's a little bit easier that way. So toxic, here, masculinity and toxic masculinity can be equated to bravery and bravado. I think most of us understand what that is. When you're a kid, and when I was a kid, we used to build tree houses all the time because we were young and we were stupid and we didn't have video games to keep us occupied all the time. All right. We went out and we actually did things and we would have this freaking rope that we would climb up all the time. And you'd have to, at first we tried to slide down. Eventually it makes your palms a lot stronger, but it also burns the hell out of the first like 20 times that you do it until you realize I can also climb down also, the hand over fist thing. I can actually do that both ways. But what do you call it? The idea is like when your peers tell you to jump off the equivalent of a 2-story height treehouse onto a freaking what's called a mattress, a dirty old mattress where the springs are coming out on one side. You're doing it because you're dumb. You're doing it because you're really freaking dumb. You know what I'm saying? But you also don't want them to think that you're a coward. Are you brave for doing it? No. But you're tricking everybody else, including yourself, into thinking that you're brave for doing it. In reality, you wouldn't have done it when no one's looking. Bravery is doing something when you know, or at least you're sure that there's no reward on the other side for you. You know what I'm saying? Brave is, case in point, being white, but still speaking up and saying, yeah, Black lives do matter. Like all of our lives matter, which means Black lives matter also. And you don't have anything to gain from it. Nobody's gonna, show up and be like, "You're awesome. Here's money." Nobody's gonna do that. So, you're not doing it on some kind of a platform and whatnot, and making sure I've seen people. Oh God. So I went to this. I think this is the first time I'm telling anybody this. I went to a Black Lives Matter march here in Mississauga. It wasn't as big as we wanted it to be because, let's face it, Toronto is practically right down the street. That's where everybody was. But we wanted to show City Hall here that they matter here in Mississauga also. And I saw too many people taking pictures of themselves with their little banners and everything. It's like, come on, man. Come on. And a lot of those people didn't make it until the end. Just taking their pictures, throwing up peace signs and stuff like that. That's not what we're here for. So yeah, we don't need your numbers. Not if you're just gonna be taking. We don't want to see flashes going off all the time. Like that was it's just ridiculous. These are people who have an ulterior motive. These are people who have an agenda. You know what I'm saying? Other than the agenda that we all supposedly rallied for. Now, in this particular case, this is what we have here. Conan distrusts magic because magic is the shortcut. Magic is the easy way out. It's not working and getting good at something and doing what you have to do. No, magic is the easy way out. So he doesn't trust magic. And this concoction that they've got for him, mind you, this is the you remember Chip Zdarsky did The Invaders, and Namor, essentially had his own potion he could use, 6 hours of breathing underwater, and you're going to turn blue also. Reed Richards has one also. It's just a pill, and you're not going to turn blue, but you still get to breathe underwater for the exact same amount of time, 6 hours. So why do they do the liquid form as opposed to the pill form? The blue didn't help him in this. There was no reason for it to help him in this. So that didn't make any sense. He doesn't speak Atlantean. It was booty. There's no reason to do this. But because the pill, Conan, I think, would have had not too much of a problem with. It's like, this is safe. I've seen pills before. Okay. But drinking elixirs, this is usually something reserved for magic. Unless they actually watch the mortar and the pestle for an antidote for a poison. Usually an elixir, green bubbling elixir like this thing is, it just looks like it's alchemy to him. He's not going to trust it because he distrusts the idea of magic or the shortcut. Here, Saladin Ahmed, who's otherwise a good, solid writer, clearly doesn't understand Conan. So he chalks it up to fear of magic. And this is where you've completely lost me. You've completely lost me in this comic book. Shuri, who I love Shuri, under Hudlin, under Priest, under Ta-Nehisi Coates, you know what I'm saying? Originally, our first real introduction to her was, hey, I'm going to try and be the Black Panther. And on my way to get there, I got tripped up, and circumstances out of my control caused me to not be able to challenge for the Black Panther, and instead T'Challa, my big brother, got it instead. Shuri was always, from her introduction, considered a straight up badass. Whether she could beat him or not, she knew what was up, and everybody knew what was up. She was a badass. And she was not afraid to mix it up with whomever. Then later on, they gave her the Black Panther role. Dug that because she deserved it. She deserved it. Then she was killed, and then she came back, and she had the spirit realm, the afterlife, the blessing of Bast, pretty much, and all the ancestors, the ancestral magic. And now she's really good at magic also. I have no problem with that. Zero problem with that. Then the movie came along, and they decided these things we don't like, so instead we're just going to make her this awesome scientist who's going to, be on par and rival Stark with her science. I have no problem with that either. It's a very different version, but I don't have a problem with that. It's a Shuri who's confident, who's really good at something, and she's awesome for it. Then Marvel decided, as I guess we should have expected them to do, to not lose what they already had, the badassedness and the magic, but also incorporate the science. So now she's got all three. Everybody here knows, whether you love Superman or hate Superman, everybody here knows that the problem with Superman is writers who don't understand how to write him. When he's just this guy who's super ridiculously strong and nobody can mess with him, he's not afraid of anybody, doesn't need to be afraid of anybody. There's no real challenges for him. Well, then that's when he becomes boring. That's when he's this, what do they call it? A Sally do well, who cares? Whatever. That's when like you're the epitome of everything. You're the paragon of excellence. Nobody can even come close to you. He's boring. He's written boring AF. Nobody cares about Superman at that point. You have to be able to give Superman challenges. A lot of people argue, and many times rightfully so, that Batman is a billion times braver than Superman. Why do they say that? Because Batman could be hurt by the speeding bullet. He could be ran over by the locomotive. You know what I'm saying? Like if he tries to jump off a building without his cloak and stuff like that, he's probably going to get busted up really bad. But he does all these things and more, knowing that he's fragile, knowing that he's vulnerable, because he's brave. Nobody's daring him to do anything or making fun of him and tricking him into doing these things. Peer pressure, No. So he is braver than Superman. But Superman could still, and he has been, written very well when it's not just the idea of his invulnerability. In fact, you instead look at the other things that make him vulnerable. I'm not talking about magic, red sun, or kryptonite. I'm talking about understanding humans and being better than people, just being better than the average person, being that Boy Scout, but earning it. Shuri here is a little bit too powerful, and most of these panels she's smiling. And it makes it look like she's teasing Conan, especially with the words that are being used where, she's teasing Conan. Just like young boys who are tricked by other boys to jump off of a 2-story treehouse onto a springy mattress below, it's stupid to do that. But now when you have an adult doing that, I'm 45 years old. I'm 45 years old, been in the martial arts since I was 8. There comes a level of confidence in myself. Even if I get my ass beat by somebody, it doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm doing. It just means this guy was somehow better than me. But is there a 16-year-old on the planet who's going to kick my ass? Probably not. Maybe, who knows? In a fair fight, who knows? You know what I'm saying? Like if he's not going to pull a knife or a gun on me. So why would I ever allow a 16-year-old who's more likely than not only been in a couple of playground scuffles, not an actual fight, trick me, goad me into decking him? I don't care what he says to me or about me, talks about my mom. I don't care if he freaking, even if he shoves me. Like, I'm going to go to jail if I hit this kid. I've got to wait until he gets real bad until I put my hands on him. And even then, I've still got to be careful. Why? Because he's 16 years old. He's a minor. He's a kid. And somebody with my experience really doesn't have an excuse for just, bip, 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 I'm going to teach you a lesson. Who the hell am I to teach this 16-year-old kid a lesson? So all of that would be toxicity. It would be toxic masculinity if I felt the need to fight a 16-year-old kid. It would belie everything that I know. But the fact that I do know how to handle myself, I can be confident. I know I could probably take a shot or two from this kid. I'm positive that I can hold this kid down and whatnot. That's confidence. It's also a good showing of masculinity. What is the difference between masculinity and toxic masculinity? It's being brave. It's knowing who you are. It's being confident. The truth in those words, the root of those words. A lot of people will confuse masculinity and toxic masculinity and think they're the same thing. That's not the case. Take any cis woman, any woman who is into guys, not a single one of them want for their man to be going, "Ah!" if somebody breaks into their house. Even if it's with a gun or a knife, you don't want a guy to be there with you, "Ah!" and holding on to you. Like no woman wants that. Let's be realistic. And there's somebody for everybody. So if you're a cowering little, whatever, okay, fine, fine. Then boom, there you go. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? There's somebody for everybody. But on average, it's just like the argument, men are stronger than women. Well, not all men. Stop. Men in general are stronger than women in general. Like this, there's some things that just you should understand. You should really understand. Women in general don't want cowering men. Now, it doesn't mean you got to go up and I'm macho man. I'm channeling Richard Pryor in this one. I'm macho man. I've got no skills, but I'm going to kick your ass, macho man. You just whooped my ass and stabbed me in the head, macho man. No. Stop. Stop. But there's a difference between charging somebody with a knife or a gun and cowering. There's, dimmer switch, not just light switch, dimmer switch. There's shades of gray. So if somebody, comes into your house and, hey man, give me all your money. You could just be a man and go, whoa, whoa, hey, you got my money. You want it? Here, look, I got my wallet on me. Here, babe, get your purse. You know what I'm saying? Hand your purse to me so he doesn't think that you're going to pull a gun or something like that. Dude, the money, look, I've got a safe over here. I'll give you the combination. Take it. It's just money. Take it. Just go. You don't have to hurt anybody. You know what I'm saying? That's that's masculinity. That's you trying to take control of an unwinnable situation and not just, like, what is that? You know, being cooperative as opposed to being, because if you're not cooperative, if you're like, you're going to get pistol whipped. Do you deserve it? No, nobody deserves a bad thing to happen to them. But at the same time, we can still earn things that we don't deserve. You know what I'm saying? So be a man, for Christ's sake. Women want somebody who's not going to cower next to them. That's not what they want. It's just the world, okay? That's just the world. And when you're an adult, if you're still tricked into doing stupid things that you don't like, then you're not a man. You're still a little boy. And Conan being goaded into taking this elixir, even if it's actually safe for him, it looks like magic to him. He doesn't trust it. Saladin Ahmed, as good a writer as he is, does not get Conan, and he should, by rights, not be allowed to write Conan. I want you to think about, and I think I mentioned this once before. I think I mentioned this in one of my Sunday podcasts with Chillmonger. It's free wherever you get your podcast from, Comic Book University podcast. I talked about the Lone Ranger. In order to write a Lone Ranger story back when it was actually licensed, I believe it's actually public domain now. But in order to write this stuff back in the day, you had to follow certain rules. Lone Ranger doesn't kill. He can shoot his guns with the silver bullets, but he doesn't kill. That's just not what he does. 2, he can never run from. He can never be in a hopeless situation, a truly hopeless situation. It could seem hopeless, but he's got to find a way to overcome, and without killing. 2, he can never run away from a fight. Or 3, he can never run away from a fight. And there's like a list of rules. And if you can't follow them, then you don't get to write either a comic book or a book or a movie or a radio broadcast or anything. You don't get to make your Lone Ranger story if you can't follow these rules. You're just simply not qualified to write them. And that's all there is to it. Well, how do you do such a right there? You just told me you can't do it. Done. Maybe you're good at writing a Zorro, but you're not good at writing a Lone Ranger. It is what it is. And there's certain things in regards to Conan. Conan can be afraid, but he's still going to be brave. He's still going to be smart. He's not going to be tricked like a little boy into jumping off of a freaking pier or a treehouse or drinking an elixir, which seems like magic to him because he doesn't understand it. I don't know how this got past the editors. I don't know how Saladin Ahmed was chosen to write this. And I'm not even focusing on the idea that freaking the Serpent Crown is in another story. Stop! Jesus, stop! He actually does fight Namor in here, and I don't like the fight because it's just whatever. Um, they try to they try to make it like the Serpent Crown being used on Namor and and Conan. Hey, you guys fight each other, but Namor, hold back. I don't want you killing Conan right away. It's a really simple way of saying Conan wouldn't have lasted against the like the toughest man is not gonna the most macho of men, the manliest of men is not gonna be able to beat the most Atlantean of Atlanteans. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just not gonna happen. Like Namor would freaking rip Conan into shreds, even holding back. So, like this could be fun if it was, like I'm going to, listen, human, I kind of like you. I want to see them bond. I wanted to actually see them bond and hang out. That might happen in the next issue, I guess. But I'm telling you right now, man, you know what would have been even cooler? Is if Saladin Ahmed and the editors actually knew who Conan was instead of just like that Saturday morning cartoon. Yeah, there was a Saturday morning cartoon, or the Arnold Schwarzenegger version of him, which was actually more like Kull the Conqueror, not like Conan. But hey, I still loved it because I actually like Kull also. Hey, when I'm reading this and I'm seeing that they probably don't even realize that Conan, while not actually an Atlantean himself, does actually have Atlantean blood, so to speak. He has Atlantean DNA because his ancestor is Kull the Atlantean, the exile, the outcast. And they didn't even bother trying. They decided to do this weak story where, listen, 5 panels is Shuri in. What did she have to gain by laughing at Conan? Because by the art, by everything, this is what happened. She's talking him down. She's calling him a coward, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like this is one of the funniest. I'm going to tell you a quick little story, okay? Because we're live, so whatever. There was one time I was hanging out with my buddy Kendall. I'm not going to say his last name, but I'm hanging out with my buddy Kendall. He's a guy from Newark, and we used to watch wrestling all the time. All right. And The Rock was just getting really big. So we talking about, I'm going to kick your Rudy Poo candy ass, whatever. And then all of a sudden the freaking, Rock, This Is Your Life came out. And like, oh my God, this is the greatest segment that has ever appeared on any freaking television program ever. When Mankind, the Rock and Sock connection is like, this is your life. Here's your old teacher. And remember, you're my home ec teacher and you didn't let The Rock make pancakes. My God, this is the greatest freaking thing in the world. Oh my God, that was great. So we were always doing this to each other. And then Mike, I'm not going to say his last name. Like I almost said it. Mike is the VP of engineering in the company that we're both working at, that we're all working at, right? And I was getting ready to leave, and Kendall was like, dude, you should talk to Mike. I was like, you're more friends with Mike than I am. Say I'm not gonna, he's like, no, you should go over there and you should do one of those jokes to him. One of the, like, tell him to, the pancake thing and whatnot. I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know him like you do. So whatever. But Mike came in and he was whatever. Like he likes to make jokes and whatnot. And he was in the lab and he started saying some jokes. And I'm just like, whatever. So like, you know what? Do you like pancakes? And he's like, I love pancakes. Why? I was like, never mind. And I just tried, like, I lost my nerve. You know what I'm saying? This next part is interesting. So as I'm walking out, I'm walking into the break area in between the lab and the outside. There's a little break area where you take off your lab coat and you whatever, because it's an ISO 9001 lab. So as I'm leaving, he says, "Coward." I turned back around. I said, "Mike, that's, of all the word, you could have called me a chicken shit, and that would have been fine. You know what I'm saying? But like coward, that has a certain connotation to it. So I want you to recognize that you just called a military veteran a coward." He's like, "Oh, I didn't mean it like that." I was like, "No, Mike, this is the part where you shut your damn mouth." So like this invigorated me a lot. And this actually did wind up making us kind of friends at the time. I think I took a little bit too far, but he needed to be put in his place. So you just called a military veteran a coward. So you never served. So you never even tried to show that you're willing to go and take a bullet for somebody else. But you called me a coward. Of all the words you could have used, that was a really damn stupid thing to say. But no, that's fine. It shows that intelligent people who can even get to be VP of engineering can still be stupid. But let's also take it another step. Let's say you only called me a chicken shit. You are the VP of engineering and I'm just a guy. I'm just a regular employee. I report to you, and not even directly. There are two intermediaries before I get to you. You're the third in my chain of command. You know what I'm saying? And yet somehow I'm a coward because I don't want to crack a joke with you, and we barely ever talk. So there's the power dynamic there. That's interesting, Mike. You get a very interesting take on things. Maybe, Mike, maybe you should actually take a look at the world around you, actually read the room, because the room full of people, full of engineers and a couple of techs. Maybe you should actually read the room and recognize that you're really off. Anyway, I was leaving and I just walked out the room. Yeah, later on, he actually was 2 days later, he came and he talked to me and whatever, but still, yeah, that was frustrating. There's a difference between being a coward and being a chicken shit and being an idiot, you know? Like there's just, and this, they don't understand who Conan is. This was just wrong on so many levels. Besides the fact that Mephisto is still in hell, even though whatever. This book, it actually, in my opinion, this book actually damaged the character of Conan, damaged the character of Shuri, damaged the character of Mephisto, damaged everything. Damaged possibly Marvel Comics. It's not like, Marvel Comics going out of business now. Like, that's just not who I am. I'm not going to sit here and start doing a bunch of nerd rage. I am going to look at it, though, as if you don't know the characters that you're assigned to write, why are you being assigned to write them? And maybe he asked for this. Well, you shouldn't ask to write characters. There should be at least some kind of a litmus test. This was done horribly, horribly. And I can not only not recommend this comic book, I'm recommending to never even walk near the comic book. If this comic book is on the shelf and a comic book that you want is right over here, stay so far away from this comic book that you actually ask somebody else to grab the comic book that you want that's next to it before you leave the store. Don't even come close to this comic book. This is terrible. Stuff like this should not be written. What did Shuri have to gain? What did the character of Shuri have to gain from this when she's in 3, 4, 5 panels, something like that? And she looks like the tough one, and Conan looks like a kid who's still being goaded to jump off the treehouse ledge. You want to talk about toxic? There are some, because look, I call myself a feminist because I'm a classic meaning of the feminist. I believe that men and women deserve to be treated equally. It doesn't mean, like a lot of people who call themselves feminists today, that women should be treated better than men. No, women do not deserve to be treated better than men. There are advantages that women have, there are advantages that men have. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to give you an example. The privilege, the little tiny bit of privilege that white people have over black people as a whole, is that I'm not afraid when a cop pulls me over. I don't think this cop is going to shoot me. Even though I've had one cop with his hand on his pistol as he's talking to me and my kids in the back seat, and another time where a female cop actually pulls a gun on me and is pointing it at me. I want to say at my head, but she was so shaky, I don't know where that bullet was going to go. And I wasn't close enough to see if it was still on safety. I imagine though she forgot to take it off of safety. She didn't have any training. Anyway, um, nah, bro. I'm sorry. Like that little bit is called privilege, right? Okay. So if a woman has a higher likelihood of getting a ticket because she's pretty or because she'll cry, I guess that's called privilege also. Do I want that right? Hell yeah, I'd cry like a bitch. I'd cry like a bitch to get out of a ticket. You know what I'm saying? Especially when I was driving a truck, I would cry like a little girl. I would bitch hell like you wouldn't believe to get out of a ticket. Please, officer, I didn't mean it. But if I did that, he'd probably beat me, and I would deserve it. All right. So I'm going to call that privilege also. So people, not men, not women, people understand that we are all a little bit different. No, 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 no. I want us to all be treated equally. I want us to all have the same opportunities, the same chances to get ahead in life. Now, the fact that women have some advantages over men and men have some advantages over women, sometimes you just got to play your cards and do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? But I do want us to all have equal opportunity to get ahead. So that's that. But when you have something like this, where a character like Shuri, who's already basically a Superman of sorts, doesn't need to get any kind of extra, you're awesome, especially at the expense of the main character. I'm pretty sure that reads Conan. Granted, I think this is more Conan O'Brien than Conan the King, or Conan the Barbarian, or Conan the Destroyer, or Conan the Thief, or Conan the freaking badass of all badasses. This was frustrating. This was a really frustrating read from beginning to end. Yeah, this comic book should never have been made. And I really think that Saladin, all the respect in the world to the guy who is an otherwise really good writer, should recognize one, how to write Conan, two, more like 1.2, recognize how to write any character you're going to write. Like he really got freaking, not North Star, Black Bolt. He really got Black Bolt. He taught us about Black Bolt. Damn, that was good. How come Conan can't get the same treatment? If you don't understand Conan, don't write Conan. You don't understand Spider-Man, don't write Spider-Man. You don't understand a character, don't write a character. It's that simple. Two, understand that making women stronger than men is not feminism. It's not even women empowerment. It's women OP-ement. You know what I'm saying? Overpower-ement. Like it's there was no need. If this was a Shuri book and you wanted to do that, okay, I would understand it. We're good. But there's a Conan book. Why did you make Conan literally look like he's just along for the ride? This is somebody else's book. I'm not sure whose, but it's not Conan's book. So this was terrible. Don't buy this book. Done. Professor, let me, a couple of things. If Silva Surfa is in the chat, you know he's going to agree with me about Conan. You know what I'm saying? The question is, am I agreeing with him or is he agreeing with me? Nah, man. Like, yeah, no. That is just messed up. It's Marvel for the past 25 years. For the most part, yes. So the writer and editor sucked? Yes, ICT Vinny. The job that they did sucked. Look, man, I've messed up before. When I was driving a truck for Haagen-Dazs one time, I accidentally blew the drive shaft. You know what I'm saying? I know how to drive stick, but at the time I wasn't familiar with driving stick. I hadn't done it in a while, and just it was hard. And I went to take off at a toll booth. At a toll booth, I popped the freaking clutch. So the whole drive shaft is literally just laying on the freaking ground. And we're walking around, me and my co-driver, we're walking around picking up pieces of this thing. People are honking the car behind me and stuff like that. Hey, Bam, thank you. Not Bam, 95-cent super sticker. I don't know exactly what that means, but thank you, Grandmaster. I appreciate that. I don't know what a super sticker is. Oh, there's a big devil face. That's funny. I like that. I can't see that on my StreamYard, but I see it on the regular thing. So, okay, cool. Thank you. All right. I appreciate that, man. I didn't even know that was a thing. I've never seen a super sticker before. Okay, so I blew this freaking drive shaft, and like it was embarrassing. And we're guys, so they were rightly ribbing me. and I had to take it. You know what I'm saying? And it didn't bother me because I deserved it. I screwed up bad. I didn't suck. That day, my driving sucked. Granted, I drove all over the place and things like, and just for some reason, I was like in a rush to get out of the toll booth, and that backfired big time. And it sounded like a backfire. Shoot, I think the pop. Oh, it was bad. I didn't suck. But at that particular moment, my writing sucked. So Saladin Ahmed doesn't suck. The editor doesn't suck. In this particular case, what they did, what they allowed, sucked. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference between attacking a person or attacking the thing that a person did. And that's where I'm at. So, yeah. Can't be friends with your boss. There is always a divide. Not necessarily true. If you are friends with your boss, it's part of the boys' club, which a lot of women will say, that's not fair. Well, unfortunately, if there weren't so many claims of sexual harassment when a lot of times there's not really sexual harassment, then it is what it is. Hey, listen, I believe the women. I believe the women enough to do an investigation. But if the investigation shows beyond the shadow of a doubt that you just don't like him, then that's not sexual harassment. You know, saying a guy asking you out for coffee is not sexual harassment. Unless he's a creep and he's asking everybody out for coffee. It's like, dude, stop. You're actually like, there's a lot of people complaining about you right now. You're kind of a creep. All right. You need to chill. So like everything, instead of doing the cookie cutter thing, we should all just be looking at everything by case basis. Is that inconvenient? Yes, it's very time consuming. It takes a lot of brain energy, but it's better than doing a cookie cutter rule where we're just like, anytime that a woman says somebody did this, then they clearly did that because we have to believe the women. That's not the way the world works. You believe her enough to do an investigation, and you do a goddamn fair investigation, but you don't just say, well, she says you sexually harassed her, so that's where we're at. Uh-uh. Uh-uh. I have never been accused of sexual harassment, so that's a good thing. But I also don't ask people who I work with to go on dates. We're two halves of a whole, men and women. Goddamn right. Professor Bill looks like the Liv version of the Liev Schreiber. I look like the Liev Schreiber version of Sabretooth. Have you ever seen my teeth? Like, I got sharp as hell fangs too. I can pull it off. Damn, man, tell it like it is. I'm with you. Screw that book. Bill Lewis, you're funny. So Marvel had Shuri ruin Conan. I don't know about ruin, but bitched him out basically. How do you miss Conan having Atlantean blood? Yeah, exactly. Well, no, I can understand people missing that. If you don't know Kull, then saying that he's related to Kull, just whatever, it's like it doesn't. Whatever, it is what it is. But yeah, he is actually like just whatever. Like a lot of people are like, whenever I say, oh, I'm Italian, I'm Native American. I'm also part Irish, but I never really associated myself as being particularly Irish. You know what I'm saying? My grandmother on my father's side was Irish. I didn't really get to know her that well. I knew her, but like no customs, no anything like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm also part Dutch. No clue as to what, I've been to Amsterdam. I've been to the Netherlands. I've been to Holland, you know what I'm saying? But I never really engrossed myself in the customs. So I don't consider myself Irish or Dutch, except by blood. It's actually DNA. It's not blood. But anyway, but Native American and Italian, specifically Sicilian, I am very engrossed in those. I've spent most of my time with my Italian, heritage, and I've actually been in the arms of my full-blooded, so to speak, Native American ancestor. Ancestor is actually a great grandfather. You know what I'm saying? So, he's actually held me in his arms before he died. You know what I'm saying? So there is an actual physical connection there. And I've been on a spirit quest. I've been on, the journeys of manhood. You know what I'm saying? Things like I've done these things. I've actually gone out and I've learned how to skin. I'm not great at it, but I've learned how to skin and tan an animal and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm in touch. I've gone out and done archery and things like that. So there's a difference between one. So his heritage Conan's heritage is Atlantean, but he's so far removed and disconnected. Like, I get it. I understand how people wouldn't realize that he's actually got Atlantean blood, so to speak. Kull actually was an Atlantean. He was exiled, but still. So, there's that difference. There's that huge difference right there. But anyway, it is what it is. This comic book just really didn't do it for me. Same here. I feel bad for those poor artists. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I should have put if you're going to write a Conan book. You're not wrong, Dell. I'm not mad at you. Shoot. The art was okay. The art was a little bit better than okay, except for the Shuri part. Like I said, nobody seems to be able to draw Shuri in that uniform and actually make it work. Like look at here. Look at here. Blue Conan. Look how scared he looks. I've read I believe every single short story that, like the original short stories that Robert E. Howard wrote. I don't remember a single time where he was ever terrified. This is a look of pure. I'm going to keep this here for you to actually see it. This is a look of pure terror on his face as he's jumping down into the water. Like, what is this? It's a great looking picture, but not for Conan. Like this just doesn't work for a Conan story. And I've read a lot of the other stories a lot of other people wrote too, like non Robert E. Howard, I've read several of them, but I've never seen anybody write Conan make the crucial error of writing Conan like a freaking coward. I've never seen that before, and it should never happen. So yeah, this just didn't work. Let me finish up some of these. Oh, just Grandmaster, so you can skin things just like Sabretooth. Interesting similarities. Oh, shut up. Shut up, man. I also bite my fingernails though, so that's anxiety. What do you call it? Yeah, so no, the Sabretooth, it ends there. All right. If you don't have claws, you're not Sabretooth. So anyway, I do look pretty good at a tux though. Anyways, I'm out, guys. I'll talk to you all later. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Like the video. Class dismissed.